the countdown going on.
Yeah, Lisa, we're up. We're up.
Come on in. Stop at the desk in the back first. There you go.
It's what? Okay. I appreciate it. Y'all are our pilot group on our survey. Yeah.
I have 6:59, right? Okay. Oops. 7 what? Oh. Good. Well, good evening, Christ Church Online. Good evening, Christ Church, and guests here in the auditorium. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight is a different night here at Christ Church. We have the privilege of having the Houston Food Bank, the Civic Engagement and Grassroots Manager, and the Civic Engineer Coordinator with us tonight. They are going to do some training for us so that we can communicate with our community better. I need that kind of training, and I pray that it'll be a benefit to each and every one of you. So without further ado, I want to introduce Angel Smith to you, and then also Miranda Laura. And they will speak about this night and what to expect. We do have several in the back here filling out some questionnaires, so you online, hang in there, and we'll try to include you all the way through. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Christ Church. I'm so glad to be here tonight. And hello to our streamers who are online and joining us. Thank you for taking the time out, because I know you probably spent all day at work and now you got to stare at a computer for just a little bit longer to get some good information. As Pastor Diane said, my name is Angel Johnson Smith, and I say the Johnson because I'm still getting used to the Smith. Okay? Just celebrated my 2-year wedding anniversary last week, so still getting used to it. Thank you. A little about me. I have been doing this work for over 15 years, advocating for different issues in different communities, teaching folks to advocate for themselves, teaching folks to organize in their communities, and teaching folks how to talk to their elected officials and hold them accountable, how to be a part of the civic engagement process. So that's a little bit about me. Also, to note, I'm a PK. So there might be some references. I feel like I'm in a safe environment to give some references. Okay, so just a little fun fact about me. And I have with me my colleague tonight, Miranda Laura. She's in the back helping get folks signed in. I hope everybody got a pre-event survey. You are actually our pilot crowd for these pre and post-event surveys. So we appreciate you taking part and helping us to add something to our trainings, right? So we can know if we're doing the right thing, how it's sitting with you all, and if it's helpful. All right? So I appreciate that. So I don't want to prolong the evening. So I'm going to get right into it. We're going to be talking this evening about building relationships. And I know you see that and you're like, I don't need a training on building relationships. I'm sitting next to my girl, sitting next to my homeboy. You know, I got this. I'm married, been married 30 years. I got this. So we're specifically going to be talking about how to build community relationships, right? How to bring people in and form a community. In order for us, you can go ahead to the next slide. Yes, all right. So in order for us to build relationships, and why it's important is because through those relationships, you gain commitment. And commitment is what we need in order for people to feel connected to an organization and to be able to fight for an issue with their neighbors, with their community, with the person they live next to, drive next to, and see at work every day. All right, so we want to make sure that we're intentional about building these relationships. Next slide, please. That commitment is the glue that holds your relationships together, right? Even as you are forming a relationship with your new boo, what keeps y'all dating? Come, y'all got to talk back to me now. I know we in the sanctuary, and I know you are not this quiet on Sunday. So, what keeps y'all coming back? What keeps y'all in the relationship? Commitment keeps you in the relationship. So not only does that work in your everyday relationships, but that's how you build community. So without community, without commitment, what happens? We can go to the next slide. Next slide, please. Slush, nothing. We have nothing. We have no foundation. Everything just falls apart, right? So it's important to learn how to be intentional in building these relationships and creating community. Next slide, please. So instead, what we are looking for is a way to build relationships that allow others to join us to make a change. That's what we want to do. This is what they call the snowflake model. It became real popular in 2008 when President Barack Obama ran. He started a movement in bringing in grassroots people into his presidential campaign, asking for $5, asking for you to knock on your neighbors' doors, right? Before, it was very much kind of corporate, right? It was these people who are campaign workers and they do this thing, right? And you kind of weren't involved until you got ready to go vote. But he made sure that everybody was involved, and that's because he started out as an organizer. He started out building community and building relationships, so he brought that with him. The good thing about this structure is that leadership is distributed. You're not just responsible for making sure that, we get to City Hall or that we hold this elected official responsible, right? You're in a community and everybody's responsible for working on an issue and bringing it to the attention of the elected official. So, and when we bring more of those people together, what happens? Can anybody tell me what happens when we bring people together? Stuff gets done. But why does it get done? Why does stuff get done? Because we work together. What have you seen on TV where they brought people together? What does that look like? Progress, community. It looks like power, right? When you bring people together, you hold a certain amount of power. So if I go to an elected official's office by myself and say, that bump on my road, I don't want it. You need to move. They're going to be okay, crazy lady from, Third Ward doesn't like bump on our road. But if I bring 15 of my friends and say this bump on the road is causing accidents and we as a community do not want this, and if you don't do something about it, we're going to talk to 5 of our friends and you're not going to be in office. That's power. And that's what we're starting right now. That's what we want to build. Next slide, please. Oh, go back one slide. I'm sorry. So when we're doing this, we want to be intentional about the relationships that we're building, because we know relationships are rooted in shared values, right? You all go to church here because you believe in Jesus, all right? Any other reasons why you go to church here? You care about each other? Family, values, very important. Do any of y'all live near the church? You might live in the area, right? So you have some things in common that bring you together. Relationships, these kind of relationships that we're building are not one-offs. They're long-term relationships. And I'll give you an example. That's why I said I'm a PK, so I can do this. What you can think about here is that when you go out and you're doing outreach and you're ministering to someone, what do you start with when you're ministering to someone? You start a relationship. How do you start that relationship? You get to know them, right? You ask their name. You may ask their story. You may tell your story. And what do we call that when we tell our story in church? A testimony, exactly. So that's the same thing that we're doing. We're being intentional about building that relationship because we want that lost sheep to come on in, right? And so what we're doing is we're being intentional about building relationships and civic engagement because we want our community partner, right, or our neighbor to come on in and join us in the fight for this issue. So we want to tie them to that. So we want to make sure that they're not simply transactional. We're not just asking you to do one thing one time. We're asking for your commitment and we're asking for you to join us, okay, in whatever we're doing. So it's also, relationships are, we already talked about this, are created by mutual commitment, right? There are lots of women who think they're in relationships, y'all. And when you ask those men, they are not in relationships. Okay, so we want to make sure that it's a mutual commitment to each other. And we know that because the exchange commits a person to use one of those most valuable resources. And what is that? Exactly, time. Ooh, y'all are easy. I like this. Y'all are easy. Great class. I think you could, no, I'm just kidding. So relationships also involve consistent work and attention. And I'm going to tell y'all, as a 2-year married woman, I know this to be true, okay? Once you get the ring and have the wedding ceremony, it's not over. That's what I've been telling all my, they said, what do you learn? What did you learn since you've been married? I said, it's still hard work afterwards. It's just that I've committed to working with this individual for the rest of my life. So it involves consistent attention and work. Relationships sustain motivation and inspiration and become an important source of continual learning and development. What we call that is accountability also. How many people here are members of a gym? When you miss a class for a week and you go back to class next week, is there anybody in there that says, where were you last week? And you say, oh, you feel bad, right? You're like, I gotta come to class. That is a relationship you've built, and that person is holding you accountable because they haven't seen you, and they want you to join in lifting those weights with them. Right? All right, next slide, please. So what we're going to practice here today is building relationships through one-on-ones, being intentional about conversations that we're having with people. Building relationships involves building trust. That's of the utmost importance. And that starts with a conversation. The best way to build this conversation and to have this culture of commitment is through what we call one-on-ones. And that's basically just a tool to either grow a relationship, maintain a relationship, or establish a relationship. And so we're going to get into the meat of what those are, what that looks like. And then I'm going to let y'all practice with someone you don't know that well. Okay? Next slide, please. The goal of a one-on-one. The ultimate goal of a one-on-one is to get someone to commit to your issue, commit to join you in fighting for whatever issue you have determined is needed for your community. That is the ultimate goal, to bring them in with you. So anytime that you're having a one-on-one, there must be a goal or purpose for the meeting. It's not just you ran into Susie in the hall. It is very intentional. And so next slide, please. There are 4 key pieces to a one-on-one. One being purpose. We want to be upfront about why we're establishing this relationship, why we're here, why we're meeting. 2 is exploration. This is the part where you start asking probing questions, where you tell your story, you listen for their story, and then you bring together those shared values, right? And then there's exchange. And that's where we say, oh, I know this person that does this thing. Maybe they can help you. Or I do this thing well. Maybe I can help you, right? And you begin to exchange resources and ideas. And then the 4th thing is commitment. A successful one-on-one meeting ends with a commitment to start working together and continue working together. Next slide, please. So let's get into the mechanics of a one-on-one. Like I said, it's not just a chit-chat where you're with your girlfriend at the Starbucks and y'all are just, catching up on what's going on. It's very intentional. It's different from that. And we recommend that one-on-ones be face-to-face. Now, I know in this post-COVID era, we love to hop on a virtual, but there's something different about having a conversation on Zoom than there is about having that conversation in person, right? So that's what we recommend. If you have to have it on Zoom, fine, but we recommend that you have them in person. They're scheduled. Make sure you schedule them in advance. Hey, do you have time Tuesday at 12:30 to meet about this? Let me tell you why it's important to schedule them. I'll tell you a story. One time, there was a vacancy in my department, and it was a promotion. And me and my boss were good friends. And I was like, I can just go in there and tell her, hey, I should be considered for that. But sometimes it's important how you approach people. So I scheduled a meeting on her calendar. We went to a conference room. I had printed out my resume and all that I had done there. I had dressed up a little bit for that day, and I presented myself to her as any candidate would. And she was impressed by that because it was scheduled, it was intentional. And that meant that I could handle some of the responsibilities of the next job. So we want to make sure it's scheduled because people will take you seriously. They should last for about 30 to 45 minutes. Of course, they should be purposeful, right? They should have a purpose, whether that's inviting them when you're out ministering, when you're out giving your testimony. Your purpose is to invite them to church, right? Invite them to Jesus. So these meetings should be purposeful as well, inviting them to join into the next civic engagement event that you're having here at Christ Church, right? Inviting them to come and share what they think the community issues are and share their plan for how we should work on those issues. And while you're doing that, be mindful that you're not persuading them. More active listening than persuasion. We want to be mindful of that. They're educational. You want to also absorb what they're giving you. Be present. Be in the moment. They're not, a script. Although when you start doing these, you kind of get into a flow. But you want to be mindful. You want to be present, and you want to educate them about why this issue is important, why it's important for them to join in, so they won't miss the opportunity to affect change. And then you don't want to have a one-on-one and just leave it there. You want to do follow-up. You want to do rigorous follow-up, right? Check in on them. Hey, it was great meeting with you. What did you think about what I said? Are you ready to come to the next meeting? Okay, and we'll get a little more into those asks a little later. But you don't want to end the conversation without getting a next step or some kind of commitment, even if that's a commitment to another meeting, right? Because that means they're still open to having a conversation, open to talking. Next slide, please. So there are 3 types of one-on-ones. That's what we boiled it down to. We know that there's an introductory one-on-one. You're just meeting the person. You're just listening to their story. You're just, kind of finding out where you all connect, what you have in common, that kind of thing. You're trying to identify some common ground with that person. Then we have a maintenance one-on-one. And that's when you're having your second visit with them. You're checking in, how are things going? They've already joined in with you maybe, so you're checking in on how things are going. Or maybe they haven't joined in, so you're checking in to see when they're going to join in with you. And then you're deepening their commitment to you and the organization. Let me tell you, I did issue advocacy for an organization for 10 years. And I would call people, we would have 24 hours to have 300 people at a rally. And I would call people and I would say, can you come to this rally tomorrow night? And you know why they said yes? Yes, they were with the issue. But they also said yes because I had established a relationship with them. They knew my name, I knew theirs. I might have known their kids' names. But I established a relationship with them. And so the relationship was what drew them to come and be there for the organization. That's what keeps you there, right? You can go to any church. But what keeps you coming back here is the relationships that you've built here, right? So that's what we want to do. Then there's what we call escalation one-on-ones. And those are when you're calling somebody and you're immediately like, we're going to City Hall tomorrow. We need you to take action. We need you to press yes on this email. We need you to send this email right away. Those are your escalation one-on-ones, okay? So we're moving people directly to action. Next slide, please. Let's get into the logistics of a one-on-one. We already said they're 30 to 45 minutes long. We already said we want them to be in person. That's usually some place quiet, like a cafe. Starbucks, I think you have to buy coffee now to sit in there, so go at your own risk. But they can be in an office setting, a conference room, that kind of thing, but someplace that is comfortable for you and that other person. Make firm commitments. Get a time and a place that you're going to do this, and give them a call the day before. That also shows how important this is to you. When you call, hey, are we still on for tomorrow? When you do that with your friends, you're hoping they say no, because you don't really want to go. But in this case, we're hoping that they say yes. All right? So next slide, please. So when we're having these one-on-ones, who should we meet with? Everybody. But you should be strategic with who you meet with. That could be community members, community partners. That can be volunteers, other clergy, high school or college students. That could be HOA members, any HOAs that are around here, board members, any of those type of people who you think will take an interest in the issue that you're talking about. You should meet with them and discuss it. Be strategic because they take an investment of your time. So you want to make sure you're not wasting your time with your one-on-ones. Next slide, please. So this is what the flow of a good one-on-one. And I said once you start doing these, they become natural to you, right? You have your intro. Say, hi, I'm Angel. It's so good. Thank you for meeting me here today. I called this meeting because I really want to talk to you about the drainage system issue we're having in our community. It's really clogging up. It's nasty. It stinks. It's drawing mosquitoes. Can't keep your car clean because it got splashed through it. It's just causing all kind of issues. And so I've already called my city councilor, but there was no response. So I'm calling you here today so we can talk about it, right? So you remind them of that, and then you ask them, well, you allow them time to speak, to tell you what's going on in their life, what's important to them. Oh, yeah, I've been looking at that street wondering why somebody doesn't do something about that. I hate that. And let me tell you what's a great motivator. Does anybody know? Anger is a great motivator. When people are angry about issues, they are ready to act. It's unfortunately a great motivator. When things are going bad, that is when the most people want to get involved. When things are going good, they're like, let somebody else do it, right? So you want to go into connection. Why are they here? What do they believe in? Then a context to the meeting. Talk about the issue. Be specific about the challenge that you're talking about and the opportunities and hopes that you see where change is concerned. Have a solution to it. Hey, if you join me, I believe we can do X. Right? Ask them what they think. Do you think that's a good solution? Do you think that will change things? They may offer a different opinion or they may agree with you. All of it is helpful. Then you want to make sure, of course, you get a commitment and an ask and get them to commit to doing something with you, whether that's showing up for the next community meeting, coming to another one of these trainings, whatever that is. And then you want to catapult to making a plan of action together. I never leave a meeting without saying, okay, so I understand our next steps are whatever they are. I've got to get you this information. You got to get me some information, and we're going to meet again next Wednesday. Whatever they may be, you want to make sure that you catapult that. And then at the end of the meeting, if it's with a new person or somebody I'm building relationship with, I asked them, is there anybody else you think I should meet with? Anybody else that you think would be interested in joining us, right? Because they know people that you don't know. And that's how that snowflake gets built. Remember that snowflake? That's how it's not just the pastor's responsibility to fill these chairs. Uh-oh, am I preaching? Okay. It's your responsibility too. And so that's what we want to do when we're building community and we're bringing people in. So let's talk about getting a commitment via an ask, right? This is the part that some people have problems with. I don't want to ask them to do anything. They might say no. They might. But what is no? You're right where you started in the first place, right? I ask everything. I'm like, if they tell me no, okay, you know. And then I might ask it a different way and get a different answer, right? So you want to build enough of a relationship, build enough of that trust where you can ask them to join in. You can ask them to take action. I have built enough trust with those people to have 200 people, the next day at a rally, because they knew that when we were in 95-degree Texas heat, I was going to take care of them. I was going to have water. I had popsicles, I had everything, to get them to come and have a somewhat enjoyable time outside in Texas. But you want to ask, and you want to be deliberate with your ask. You want to be specific. You want to be confident. Like, do you think maybe you might? No, that's not going to get you the response that you want, right? And not apologetic about it either. So next slide, please. There are some how-tos of how to do the hard ask because we think this is so hard. You want to tailor your ask to your audience, to who you're talking to. If you know I'll give you an example. If I know there is someone who maybe likes to go walking, one of my volunteers likes to walk. So I meet with her and I say, hey, I know you like to walk. Would you mind walking with us around this neighborhood this weekend and knocking on doors? Oh, bring some of your walking buddies. Sure, because everybody wants a friend to come with them, right? So make sure you tailor your ask to your audience. Consider their past involvement, what they've been doing, what they're interested in if you know, and then ask them. Pick an effective attitude. When I read that, I was like, what? But be genuine. That's all that means. Be yourself. People can read through fakeness, right? If you're not a bubbly person, don't be bubbly. They'll be like, well, I don't know about this. I don't know what she was really asking me to do, right? Because they can feel that that's not genuine. So just be genuine and sincere when you're doing the ask. As I said before, build urgency. I'm coming to you now. Why? This is urgent. We got to get the street cleaned up ASAP. Because if we don't, it's going to crack you know how it goes. We live in Houston. It's going to crack the concrete. Next thing you know, I'm going to need a tire. Right? So why is it important and why do we need them to do the work now? Use confident language. Use either or questions. Ask for something specific. We talked about that now. The more specific you are, the better your chance of getting a positive response. Ask, this is the hard part. Ask and be quiet. Ooh, we don't like that. We get anxious when there's too much silence, right? We want to feel it immediately, but ask and be quiet. Give them time to ponder their decision and be okay with that. Be persistent. Ask, and ask again. So what are we asking for? Next slide, please. We're asking them to, first step, advocate for yourself, right? Speak up for yourself, the things that you need. Then we're asking them, bring your friends along. Advocate for you and your friends. What do y'all need? What do y'all see? What issue is affecting you? Then we're asking them to advocate as a community. Let's bring everybody together that this affects and ask them to take some kind of action. Next ask, let's take this to Austin. Let's go. We have our state representative, our state senator up there. We need to talk to them. This is a state level issue. And we want to effect some change on those kind of laws. Those are the laws that are related to our health care, right? Those laws are related to our education. We see what's happening with that. Those laws are related to our social welfare, our environment, right, at the state. You have every right to walk in that Capitol, set an appointment, and go see your state rep and your state senator. You have every right to call their district office, set an appointment, and go talk to them about your issue. That is your right as one of their constituents. Then what we want you to do is go to DC. Talk to your Congress people about the issue, right? There are different issues that are affected by the federal level. That's healthcare. Healthcare is another issue, right? We've seen things like gun control be a federal issue. Women's rights. Everybody remember the march on Washington with all the women in the square, right? So that was a federal issue. They all went to DC from all over the country to talk about to bring it to their doorstep about this thing that they were concerned about. So that's what we're asking people to do, right? We're taking it to different levels. Let's talk about no, because I know y'all are concerned about getting a no, but there are ways around no. All right? There are 3 types of no. Not now, not that, not ever. Okay? That's what you're going to get. So not now means I can't do that right now. It's not the right time for that. So what do? Anybody know when somebody gives you a not now, what do? Come back later. Not now when? Oh, you can't meet Thursday? Oh, what about next Tuesday? How does that work for you, right? Till you nail them down. Not that. I don't like cold calling people on the phone. I don't want to do phone banking. That's so uncomfortable to me. Oh, okay. That's great. Put on your tennis shoes. Let's go canvass the neighborhood, right? You don't like that. I got something else for you to do. Oh, you don't want to do that? Please come to the office and put this data in for me. Not that means that you can just ask them to do something else until you find that thing that they say yes to. And not ever. Never. That's fine. That's fine. That's okay. It's okay to walk away from a not ever. Some people just are not ever going to get involved, right? And that's okay. We thank them for their time and move on. And then also, the not evers, you can ask them, okay, but do you have some friends that may be interested? Okay, just because they're not ever doesn't mean their friends are. All right, so I've kind of laid it out for you. How we feeling about having a one-on-one? Feel Okay. We feel what? Now I already talked to you, so so what we're gonna do right now, next slide, please, is we're gonna have a breakout. We're gonna get together with one other person, you and one other person, somebody you don't know that well, and we're gonna practice this. We're going to practice having a one-on-one, introducing yourself, sharing a little bit of your story, finding out a little bit about their story. And then, you can make up an issue right now about what you want to bring them into, what you want to join them, how you want them to join. Maybe it's as simple as I want you to come be a part of Christ Church civic work, right? And then we're going to do that we'll give you 3 minutes to gather in your teams. And then 15 minutes to pair and share, get together and put this stuff into practice. And then 5 minutes to figure out what common values y'all have. And then write down those commitments and when you'll be meeting next. Don't leave your meeting without a commitment. Don't leave your meeting without a commitment. So we're going to give you time. Let's see, we're at 7:32. So y'all have 7:35 to get together. And I see you turning to the person next to you. I see that. I said turn to somebody you don't know as well. So that means we're going to get up and move around. We're going to get up and move around a little bit.
And not leave. You're doing a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate this.
Oh, I appreciate y'all. Y'all make it easy. Yes, you are turning those in. And if you have your Miranda, where did Miranda go? Miranda's somewhere. Miranda's in the back. She's in a black HFB shirt. If she'll be coming around and you can turn in your pre-event survey to her. Now remember the number I know this is hard, but remember the number in the corner of your survey for us, please. All right, is everybody in pairs? All right. Moving right along. Okay, so you have 15 minutes to do your one-on-one visit. Make sure you're doing your intro, you're connecting, giving some context to the meeting, getting a commitment, and then catapulting with your plan. All right? I'm going to walk around. Y'all got about 10 more minutes. Make sure that you're getting your commitment. You're making your plan. Okay, how are we doing? Do we need 5 more minutes? Yes. Okay. Yeah, 5 more minutes. Couple of more minutes, folks. Couple of more minutes. All right, folks. You should be wrapped up by now. You can make your way back to your seats if you like, or stay where you ended up. All right. I like to hear that. I like to hear that. All right, y'all. I think everybody is back in their seats or where they want to be. Can I get one group to talk a little bit about their experience? One group. Oh, thank you. They're streaming, so if you can come up here, yeah, they're streaming, so come up here.
We have a second one.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Hello. So in our group of four, we found our shared values, and from our shared values, we came up with our advocacy point, and we made our commitment to the next time that we would meet and how we would get other people engaged with us. And the reason I wanted to share is because at the end of our discussion, I brought up an actual like civic engagement thing I got involved in, and I was able to advocate to my group, and I got some signatures, so that was good.
She put this training to use tonight. All right, I like to hear that. I like to hear that. All right, yay. What's your name? Well, say it one more time. Joelle Ann, man, give it up for her. She aced this, okay? Hey, I think she had a good teacher, but she aced this. So we heard that she rallied her folks and she got her, for something we weren't even doing, she got her signatures, and this meeting was double for her tonight. So we like that. Anybody else want to just popcorn some points at you? Yes. Okay.
Okay, so Dennis and I got to know a little bit more about each other's backgrounds and agreed to meet at church on Sunday. Actually, I agreed to meet with his wife later, and we got to share some values about how important it is for kids to work as they're growing up and learn what they like and learn what they don't like so that they can try to develop passions for how they want to move forward in adulthood. And then we also talked about some ideas for the neurodiversity groups that I want to get started. And that's why I'm going to meet with his wife later. So,
look at y'all, Wendy, another superstar, acing this. Y'all are like, we're gonna put some real world application to this. I need somebody to work with me on my new neurodiversity. Yes, our new initiative. And so you're already set up your next meeting. I love it. You were like, is there somebody else I can talk to? Yes, I love that. That's exactly. So how did that feel? Anybody want to tell me how it felt to be in that one-on-one? Did it feel different from you just having, like a chit chat, a one-off with somebody? Yes? No? Crickets. No, it didn't feel different, or it did? No? Nobody? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But you got to put into practice being intentional, right? I hope. You got to put into practice being intentional about the conversation you were having, right? Pastor Diane just, got a cure for world peace, so we're on our way. So, I hope that you were intentional in these conversations, and then you can take that and practice that with folks that you don't know so well, right? And that you're beginning to know and that you want to pull into this new initiative that they're doing here at Christ Church, right? So I had a good question while I was going around and talking to folks, and it was, okay, my friend told me to come here. I thought we were talking about the food bank. I didn't know this was what this was. I said, oh, good question, right? So, the food bank, we supply pantries with food so that you all can supply the community with what they need. But what we discovered is that food insecurity is just a symptom of a bigger issue. And those issues are things like rent, right? Going up, being too high, wages being too low, right? And so how do we solve those problems? We have to solve those with policy. And so the Houston Food Bank decided it was important enough to ask their partners to become in civic engagement work so that they can not only, what we always hear, you give somebody fish, right? They eat for a day. You teach them how to fish. They eat for a lifetime. And so giving the people the tools to advocate for themselves lets them have a say in how their world looks and what's going on around them. I always tell people who tell me that they don't vote, right? Oh, they don't vote, it doesn't matter. I said, oh, you ever been downtown? I said, yeah, been downtown. Did you pay to park? Yeah, man, I had to pay to park. I said, really? I said, do you know that was a vote? That was the mayor deciding that we should pay to park downtown? Do you know that hole in your street was your city councilman ignoring that in their district? But you don't vote, so you don't care. It doesn't affect you. You just got to drive that hole every day, get a new tire, get a new axle, but it doesn't affect you. A great story that I tell is I was at home getting the cable. Y'all know cable. So a cable guy was there working on my cable, and he began to tell me his story, and he said that he was trying to get custody of his child. He didn't vote. He was not a voter. And he said, I'm trying to get custody of my child, but the judge just feels like, just is not hearing me because she feels like the child should be with the mother. I said, oh, really? I said, do you know how judges get in office? He said, no, how did they? I said, they're elected. Somebody voted that judge into that position, but you don't vote. So now you don't have a say in the people who control the things that are going on in your daily life, right? I know everybody wants to vote for president. We do. But it's more important to vote in your local elections. Those affect you daily. It's more important to pay attention to what's going on at the state legislature. Those affect you before federal will affect you, right? Pay attention to it all. And I'm not saying ignore it, but I'm just saying, if you're gonna limit what you do, pay attention to your local elections and your state elections. Those are really important. All right, so that's why Houston Food Bank does this work, because we know that we can give you food, but what we want to do is shorten the line. What we want to do is eliminate the line. And so there are other things that we have to do, and we have to encourage the community to do to make that happen. And so that's why they're having this initiative. All right? I want to thank y'all so much. Y'all have been great. Y'all have made this very much easy for me. And it's always good to be in the house of the Lord, where you have these trainings and you have people who are genuinely not only concerned about people's spiritual being, right? But we got to live here. And so, because there are many of us that say, I'm in this world, but not of this world. Meanwhile, when you get a speeding ticket, you of this world, right? Church joke. Anyway, so you have to remind people that, you have to take care of all of the person, the full person. So I really, really get my hats off to you folks for coming tonight and realizing that this is important work and being committed to doing that work. Before you leave your seats even, please, Miranda is going to give you all the post survey. Like I said, you are our pilot group for this survey, so we really appreciate you filling it out. I don't think it's too long, so it should be an easy check through. And then after that, before you all would leave, if we can get a group picture, I would love that. Oh, I don't like pictures either, but you're going to be okay. All right? Okay, and we're also going to close in prayer. Before we do that, are there any questions? No questions? All right. Passing it back over to Pastor Diane.
Did someone have a question? Oh. She's allowed. She's allowed. Thank you for a fantastic presentation. And PKs are always welcome. Always, always. Pastor Kid. I just want to say, this might seem a little bit unusual for us to do this on a Wednesday night when we're supposed to be studying the Bible. But what we did tonight is really take a look at ways we can engage in our community on issues that are meaningful to us. We all have issues that we think are important, but I will tell you that just sitting around drinking coffee with your friend talking about the issues is not going to change anything. And we pray and we know that God will change them, but we also can make a difference by organizing and going and seeing our elected officials, having those meetings, expressing our position on things. And so this is very important. Not only that, the principles work really great for discipleship. So thank you. Well, we want a group picture, so don't leave. We'll kind of pile up here. Does that sound all right? Yes. All right. So I need everyone up here after we pray. Yes. After we pray. Okay, so join with me. Lord, thank you for this time. Lord, we want to make a difference in this world. We don't want to just be a house of worship where people are left to the ravages of this world. We want to make a difference. And Lord, you've equipped us. We live in a nation of freedom. Help us to live out those freedoms by using the power of our vote, the power of community, and the power of each other. I just pray that you would guide us and be with us as we leave this place. Give us a great week and help everyone to remember Sparkle Day on Saturday at 8 a.m. God bless you. All right, let's have a picture up here.